join Scott Rood.
Our Scott Rood is in Pinehurst, North Carolina.
From Caves Valley, welcome in Scott Rood. Holly Saunders with Scott Rood.
Let's go to Dubai and check in with Scott Rood, who just talked to Stephen Gallagher. Let's talk about Rory. You mentioned talking to him live here on Morning Drive.
What's Tiger's demeanor like during his practice round that you witnessed?
What did we learn necessarily about Tiger this week?
We have learned that this is the worst start to a season for Tiger Woods in his career. Tomorrow will be filled with distraction and pressure, thanks to the most improbable half you may ever see in match play. A sixth grader playing in golf's most difficult test on its grandest stage has become polarized. Par patrol for Michelle until the last two holes. Stephen Gallagher rallies with a back nine 33. The college career for Taylor Gooch is over. World number one played like that. Thank you, George. Karen walked with that match that Australia blew a 6-up lead with 7 holes to play. What stood out, or what's next for the Scotsman?
Wow, okay, the Georgia Tech choir. I just have to touch on that really quickly. Charlie, not part of any choir, Scott.
I don't want to hear it. You're getting old. This is your 38th major championship appearance.
Wow.
They like their chances. They know they're the underdog, but they're cocky, and they want to take Bama down.
On this final group, for more on the 69th U.S. Women's Open, welcome in Scott Rood from Pinehurst, number 2. Has all the makings for Michelle Wie. She's played well in her national championship before, has been in the final group before, Scott. Now we find if she can close the door for the very first time and become a major champion.
That's right, Ryan. Michelle enters the final round of a major championship tied for the lead for the 4th time in her career. She's been unsuccessful in her 3 previous attempts. In fact, she is 0 for 37 in her career at major championships. But she has admitted that she right now is playing the most consistent golf of her career. She is paired and tied with Amy Yang. The ladies are 4 shots clear of the field and are on the short list of best players without a major championship. However, the attention is on Michelle Wie today, a prodigal daughter of a game who has been looking for her to hoist a major championship trophy now for over a decade.
I'm really excited that I have another opportunity. It's just fun. I love being in contention. I love, feeling nervous on the first tee. But I know for a fact that I'm going to go out there and play my hardest. And, no matter what happens, I know at the end of the day that's what's going to happen.
The storylines if Michelle Wie would go on to win today are boundless, considering her journey from being an unprecedented wonderkin at age 12 to contending in LPGA majors as a teen to missing the cut at the 2004 Sony Open by 1 shot to the criticisms of her parents, Bo and BJ, being too involved, to Coach David Ledbetter making her natural swing too technical, to attending college full-time. Along the way, she has remained true and loyal to her parents and Ledbetter, all of them in attendance today, as are 2 of Hawaii's biggest island reggae bands, The Green and Iration, who are on tour of all places in Portsmouth, Virginia. They made the drive down this morning. They have arrived. They have made signs that they intend to hold up during Michelle's final round. As for Wie, she has been watching episodes of Game of Thrones since finishing her 3rd round. She had dinner at the Pinehurst Resort last night, had a steak, and as she left, Ryan, she received a standing ovation from the attendees within the restaurant.
Scott Rood going inside the numbers. Scott Rood with reaction for the squad.
Kelly, tomorrow will be filled with distraction and pressure. What you would consider the golf course, what they're playing for a national championship. The fact that Mike McGraw, the assistant coach for Alabama, was the head coach for Oklahoma State last year. He was fired 21 days after the Nationals last season. There is a variety of distractions. However, Alabama has a big advantage, not just because they're the defending champions, but they have 3 seniors in Corey Whitsitt, Trey Mullinax, and Bobby Wyatt that have an amazing amount of experience. They were both on the rosters in the last 2 national championships where the Crimson Tide lost to Texas in 2012. They won last year in 2013. And they've been roommates all 4 years at college, and they will move out after nationals. They have stuck together, and it is a big reason for their success this year.
Talk about it. Our coach, Puggy Blackman, who's at South Carolina, and now the clothes that he made us wear while I played college golf. Oh, pink polyester.
You look like the Georgia Tech choir.
We did. They thought we were a choir a lot of times.
It's not a bad thing.
Little old ladies
Georgia
did.
Tech choir looks sharp. We have our own Michigan State Spartan who's joining us right now. Holly Saunders with Scott Rood, who has more on this Stanford minutia. What do you have, Holly?
Yeah, Kelly, wow, okay, the Georgia Tech choir, I just have to touch on that really quickly. Charlie, not part of any choir, Scott.
I don't want to hear it.
I don't want to hear that either. Anyhow, yes, Kelly, you're right. Patrick Rogers, you probably noticed he and his teammate have been taking a pull cart this week, a pull cart, push cart, whatever you'd like to call it. And I said, Patrick, has anybody been giving you flack for taking that push cart? You know, because some people believe it's not that manly to take a push cart. He said, hey, Holly, real men wear pink shirts and real men take push carts. So that's what Patrick had to say about that.
He does expect to get needling when he makes his pro debut at the Travelers Championship next month. The pull cart came from his teammate Cameron Wilson, who had back problems in the fall of 2012, and their coach Conrad Ray said, I'm going to do some research, and he found out that there's some physiological benefits to not having a golf bag on your back 5 hours a day. Go figure. One other thing to note as the broadcast is about to begin, most of these players do not have experience with a TV crew following them. In fact, after their round yesterday, I grabbed a bite to eat with the Alabama team, and all they had to talk about was TV cameras going around, and they said that they really knew it was on when they saw Holly, Noda, and Lanny Watkins watching them warm up, and after a few holes, they stopped thinking about it.
Not Charlie Reimer. Not Charlie Reimer.
No. Charlie was at the set.
Speaking of Charlie, another Chuck, Chuck Winstead, this is just a complete aside, is best friends with our Martin Hall, my School of Golf co-host. Martin Hall, he's over in England right now. He said he's going to drink a pint with he and his wife, Lisa, a pint of beer, of course, of Guinness, in celebration for LSU making it to the semifinals. So it all comes full circle, Kelly.
United States trail Pool A leader Thailand by 1 point. The two teams face off in 4-ball on Saturday. The overall leader is in Pool B, Team Japan, thanks to the most improbable half you may ever see in match play. 6 down to Australia's Lindsay Wright and Catherine Kirk with 7 holes to go. Ai Miyazato and Sakura Yokamini storm back to all square after 18 holes. After the round, Ai Miyazato was stunned.
Scott Root, Karen Stupples are there and have more.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Karen, we just saw the leaderboard and a glaring 0 at the bottom for the United States of America. I'm guessing you did not expect that after day one.
No, I certainly didn't expect it. I think the whole of the people on the grounds here wasn't expecting it. I know they really got outplayed today by Chinese Taipei.
Yani Sen was the lady of the matches on Thursday, draining a putt on the final hole, the last match on the golf course. And she obviously has been in a slump for the last couple years. And we saw emotion from her today that we haven't seen in a long time.
Throughout this whole year, Yani Seng's been playing sort of almost miserable, a little bit. Just reminded us of how good she really is, just to be able to seal the deal under pressure like that.
If you were in the team room with the United States of America tonight, what would you tell them?
Oh my goodness, I think I would have to tell them to keep their heads up, try and get 3 points if they can do that tomorrow against Spain, and they're still right in it and they have a chance.
2 more days to collect points,
exactly.
But a big hill to climb for the Americans. Coverage begins in day 2 at 11 a.m. with Golf Central. For now, we'll send it back to the studio and Ryan.
When asked for the key to a long life, 103-year-old Ari Ball's answer is Scotch. Every afternoon, since before he competed in the first Masters in 1934, Ari has poured himself a glass. Over time, the other 71 men to compete that year have passed on. For 9 years now, he's been the only one left. As another April comes, like Ari, we sit. We reflect on great memories, some older than others, and we watch the Masters.
Cheers.
Gary, let's go back to the 2013 Open Championship when Rory was in the middle of his slump. Tiger was asked about it, and he defended Rory, saying that it was only a matter of time that McIlroy would return to his old form. Woods would know better than most, as he's had his ebbs and flows throughout his career. And now we're seeing that Tiger was right. He believes that the biggest effect to Rory getting back to better form was him finally figuring out the best driver and ball combination. On Tuesday, live on Morning Drive, Rory said that it was once he figured out the mechanics with his driver's swing, but Woods believes that since Rory decided to change all equipment at once, Instead, Tiger decided when he changed to do it at one piece of equipment at a time. He felt once he squared down the combination of the ball and the driver that it would click, and that has been the case.
Our Scott Rood is in Pinehurst, North Carolina, and has had a chance to speak with Lucy Lee. Scott, what was your first impression?
Lisa, there is no denying the talent of 11-year-old Lucy Lee, who qualified for this U.S. Women's Open by winning her sectional by 7 shots. However, the topic on whether or not it is detrimental to the development of a 6th grader playing in golf's most difficult test on its grandest stage has become polarizing.
I like to see kids be successful at every level before they come out here. And, I'd like to, maybe see her play some USAMs, play the Pub Links and get into match play where you have some experience. And, I just like to see kids learn how to win before they come get beat up out here.
A quick follow-up then, what do you see should be the restrictions or minimums for the Women's Open?
I don't think you can put any restrictions on it. I don't know. If it was my kid, I wouldn't let her play in an open qualifier at 11, but that's just me.
It is important to note that Stacey Lewis turned professional after the age of 22 after competing for 4 years at the University of Arkansas, where Lexi Thompson, Michelle Wie, and Morgan Pressel, who all were supportive of Lucy Lee competing this week, played in a U.S. Women's Open by the age of 13, turned professional by age 18, and all are having successful professional careers, with Thompson and Pressel already major champions. Lisa?
And at some point it will end, but this will not be the year. Stanford coach Conrad Ray, once again with our Scott Rood.
Oklahoma State defeats Stanford with the head coach for Stanford, the Cardinal. Coach, what's going through your mind? Your team just walked off the golf course defeated.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know if it's going to sting for a while.
It's been an incredible stretch in this spring. It's led to a beard on your face, a lot of smiles, an individual crown for Cameron. When you get the team in behind closed doors, what are you going to tell them?
Well, I think there's a lot to be proud of. I mean, we really wanted this thing, so it's tough right now to have to go home a little bit early. It'll sting for quite a while, but I think the guys will be proud of what they accomplished this spring.
Thanks for the time, Coach.
Yeah, thanks, Scott.
Oklahoma State will face Alabama in the final on Wednesday.
Eagle on the closing hole, thought maybe that clubhouse lead would at least hold up possibly for a playoff. Emiliano Grillo from Argentina. Who is he?
Grillo is young. He is 21 years old. He is a native of Argentina, but at age 14, he knew he wanted to be a professional golfer. He left his local town in Argentina at age 14 for Buenos Aires. At 16, he moved to America and attended the David Ledbetter Academy, and he turned professional at 18. A month later, he tried to get his tour car on the PGA Tour, and he failed. So what did he do? Never being in Europe ever in his life, he flew to Europe and tried to get his car on the European Tour. He got through the first stage on his 19th birthday, and he kind of sailed through the second and third round. It was a huge surprise. He at no point intended to take up membership first in Europe. His plan is to follow in the footsteps of Angel Cabrera and Andres Romero and get membership in America, as he is a resident right now of Sarasota, Florida.
Scott, thank you so much. We'll be back to you.
So Michelle Wie playing some great golf in the major. She spoke with Scott Rood after that great finish.
Well, Ryan, par patrol for Michelle until the last 2 holes, finishing birdie on a golf course that it's very difficult to hold greens. How have you been able to be in such control the last 2 days?
Just Don Ross golf course. Short is better than long, so we just, even if I'm leaving myself 40, 50-foot putts, I'd rather be short than just over the green. But yeah, just trying to keep it short of the pin.
You're still looking for your first major championship. Is that your leading motivation heading into this weekend?
Yeah, obviously as an American, the U.S. Open is definitely one of, if not the most important tournament to win. But, I'm just not going to even think about it.
Last thing, we've seen you file through 3 or 4 books between shots. You can say it, be honest, whose yardage book is more helpful?
They're both really helpful. I think, everyone has a different style to what they put in their yardage books. It's definitely, it's the most I've spent on a yardage book, time-wise. It's color coordinated, put in notes from everyone's book, their book, their caddy's book, it was really helpful. It's nice to sift through the inappropriate comments once in a while. But yeah, it was definitely very helpful.
Thank you, Michelle. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
We want to get more on this young man. We will join Scott Rood, who's been tracking this Cardinal team. Scott, good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Kelly. Cameron Wilson, hot off last night's individual championship. He had his mom in attendance. She was a part of the broadcast, gave a big hug. I was with her as she watched Cameron on our set doing your interview. She's very proud, but she's going to be a busy lady as Cameron is a twin. His twin sister is Mackenzie. She's a senior at Stanford as well, and she is the captain for Stanford's sailing team, and they begin their national championship today in Annapolis, Maryland. It's a week-long process, so Mom hopes to go from here to Maryland to watch Mackenzie. They both plan to graduate next month at Stanford, and Mom, she's involved in sports as well. Dan Jenkins, a World Golf Hall of Famer, has sent out tweets in support for Cameron Wilson because his mom, Myra Gelband, was a staff member for Sports Illustrated when Dan Jenkins was at the height of his career as a sports writer. She was Jenkins's reporter and researcher. Another family to keep a note on is Curtis Thompson's. He is the brother of Nicholas and Lexi Thompson. He is by himself this week. The father and sister are in Mobile as Lexi's just finished up the LPGA and Nicholas was at Colonial. The family policy, Kelly, is if you don't show up for the beginning, you can't come for the end. So he's going to be by himself for as long as LSU is in the match play portion of the national championship.
Scott, thank you so much for the inside scoop.
Asked him on camera about Saturday 79, and he said it was just one of those rounds. In his press conference on Wednesday, he gave a joking answer saying, well, I'm here, aren't I? I showed up. That means I must be through it. And historically, he's gotten over bad rounds probably better than anyone. If you take his 5 previous worst rounds of his career, he won in his following official event 3 of those 5 times. He's been trying to get better each day, and he believed that Thursday was better than Wednesday. He did believe he left a few shots out there, but his round was a tale of 2 nines. His first 9, the back 9, he had poor driving but excellent scrambling, resulting in 4 under. But keep in mind, 3 of the par 5s are on that side. And the opposite on his second 9, the front side, he went even par, 9 pars, where he righted the ship with his driver. He just couldn't get any putts to drop. In terms of his driving, he did say that the problem was his pull cut just wouldn't cut, so he missed a lot of his tee shots to the left.
Scott, thank you very much.
There weren't more than 50 people following him. Amazingly, at any point during his morning 18 holes, he had his shades on, which we don't see from him very often, only in the Middle East because of such a bright sun and the sandy dunes that surround this golf course. He was very chatty with the small collection of media walking down the fairway with him today. You would not have suspected that he was coming off a 79 Saturday at Torrey Pines. Tiger cited a poor warm-up session. He hit his first 3 fairways on 1, 2, and 3, hit driver on 1 and 3, iron off number 2, and then he only hit 1 more fairway, and it was on the 14th hole. It wasn't with driver. As you guys have been mentioning, Charlie mentioned, right now the thing he needs to work on is his driver to be in the form he wants to be heading into the first major in April.
Back in it through 2 days, and joining us now from Caves Valley, Golf Channel reporter Scott Rood. Scott, good morning.
Good morning, Gary. How are you?
Doing great. Let's start with the United States team because they were embarrassed after day 1. They were under enormous pressure against a very confident Spanish squad yesterday. The result they got, where do you think it came from based on what you heard from the players?
Oh, I think there was some strategy, and they said heart was a lot of it as well. You know, hindsight's 20/20, Gary, when you're playing in team match play. You know, if you look back to day 1, their strategy made sense. Lexi Thompson, who was the least experienced player on their team, was partnered with Paula Creamer because of the 3 ladies. Creamer was the only one to play with her at the Solheim Cup. It didn't work out. They were the only team of the 8 nations to switch on day 2, and as you said, it paid off. But I think we learned that Christy Kerr is a better fit for Lexi Thompson because her calling card is precision. Precision. She would be able to hit first, and it allowed Lexi to unleash with driver, particularly on the short par 4s where the tees were moved up on Friday. It worked. You know, it only took about 5 seconds, Gary, after Stacey Lewis and Paula Creamer won 2 up on 18 to go up to Lexi and Christy and say, we're going to stick with the same pairings for day 3.
Comebacks, collapses, you need a little bit of both. You need help and you need something special to happen on your side to create this lunar eclipse that we saw yesterday. What was the reaction to everybody there to what we saw between Australia and Japan?
Well, first off, Catherine Kirk did not want to talk to anyone. Lindsay Wright did not want to talk to anyone, and that's understandable. They stormed off. They went into the team rooms. They were extremely disappointed. This was unprecedented. Our Golf Channel News team, we've been trying to see any other matches at the elite level where someone has had a 6-hole lead and did not go on to win. We haven't been able to find it. In the women's game, the closest was at the 2002 Solheim Cup at Interlaken when Suzanne Pettersson, who was a rookie, was 5 down with 5 to play and came back with a half. The most interesting part of all of this is they will play again today, and it'll be really interesting to see how they respond.
Are you surprised, Scott? Is the media surprised that team, after the devastation of that loss, would not be broken up, considering you've got this veteran in Corey Webb, a Hall of Famer right there to maybe be able to cleanse and help out one of them?
Yeah, that's a good point, because when you only have 4 players, if you're going to change one team, you're changing everyone. Where you can keep a few teams within the Solheim Cup or the Ryder Cup. I think the reason they're doing it is because Minjee Lee's dependence on Kari Webb is so strong. She calls Kari her aunt. Minjee and Kari have had a long-time relationship. In fact, at the 2013 U.S. Women's Open, Kari flew Minjee from Australia to the U.S. Women's Open and stayed with her to watch how it was at the highest level, and then Minjee obviously was contending this year at Pinehurst. I don't think they want to break that up. I think in terms of strategy and pairing after 2 days and leading into Saturday, the most interesting thing for me is that the fact that very few nations have changed up their pairings at all. We have many nations that have had the exact same setup for all 3 days of 4-ball.
Scott, thanks so much. It's going to be a fascinating day, including that wild card match to determine the 5th team that will play in Sunday singles. Have a great day. Looking forward to your reporting and the interviews later on this afternoon. Thanks as always.
Thank you, Gary.
All right, there is Scott Rood.